Ladies, gentlemen, and listeners, what a great podcast we got for you this morning. I'm here with a gentleman, and when you hear him speak, he's got a Hollywood voice, and I'm sure he's been told many times that before. His name is, and I emphasise the doctor, it's Dr. John B. Griffith Jr., and he's the Director of International Sales for Hog Technologies, and we'll get into who Hog Technologies are very, very shortly. So, John, welcome.
Yes,
Thank you very, very much indeed for joining us. And first question I ask to everybody, why did you agree to come on the podcast?
You know, Chris, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. One of the things I've noticed in our industry is that we don't do a really good job of explaining to young people why they should get involved in the airport, the aviation, and airside, operations industry. And hopefully, I'm able to pass on something that is of some value to somebody that's just starting out in this industry. Perhaps somebody who's selling a product to the aviation sector, or just starting out with a company, or maybe working for an airport, working for an end user, and encourage them to really stay the course and to stay in this industry. I think this is one of the fastest growing sectors in the world. Certainly aviation is growing by leaps and bounds in many countries. You can look at China and India, as prime examples of just how many airports, they're going to be doubling and tripling the number of airports they have. And so this is a growth industry. It takes smart people. It takes people with a little bit of gumption and backbone and a little creativity to get ahead in it. And, I just want to share some of my successes and some of the things I've learned in the last 6 years that I've been working in it.
Good man, good man. And I told you, what about that voice, eh? He definitely got a narrator's career ahead of him if anything else goes wrong. Now, for those of you who can see him, he's wearing his yellow tie and his yellow handkerchief, and those are the colours. So please now, how did Hog start? Bit of history, what is it? And what about the lovely looking logo there?
Sure. Hog Technologies started out as water blasting technologies. It's a South Florida company, founded 30 years ago by James P. Crocker, who is the still current president and CEO of the company. Hog Technologies is the world's leading producer of ultra-high pressure water blasting systems used to clean markings, any kind of durable markings, paint, thermoplastic, etc., from paved surfaces and rubber deposits on runways. So we all know, I think everybody that works around aviation understands that every time a jumbo jet lands, it leaves a little bit of rubber behind, about 1.5 kilos per heavy landing. So after you get 500 landings a day, you're looking at a ton of rubber. You multiply that over a number of days, and you start getting a real friction issue on your touchdown zones. So what our system does is a non-destructive, super effective, highly efficient, and environmentally friendly way of removing those rubber deposits and restoring the friction coefficient to your runway surfaces. The additional benefit with using ultra-high pressure water and our system is that you can also clean and remove the markings on the pavement, so you can quickly go back in and put new ones down, or just clean them and restore the reflectivity.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, that's clear. And I think it's as we now. Do you want to tell us about the logo?
So a hog, in South Florida, we have feral hogs. We have wild boars.
Yeah.
And wild boars represent a number of things. So, a wild boar is a large, powerful animal. He's the king of his domain. Nothing messes with a wild boar down there. And boars root when they eat. They put their nose and their tusks down, and they root the ground. And kind of reminiscent of what our systems do with their blasting heads out front. We kind of root the ground, and we blast up the material we're removing. And wild boars, you can't tame a wild boar. You can't hold them down. So that's kind of where the whole logo and the theme came from. And Hog Technologies, the hog farm.
I'm going to remember that, I'll tell you, because I think in my time I've met a few wild boars, so I'll remember that now. That's a good one. Now, as far as the your, what we call it, the kings of your product range. So you wanted to talk about the Hog SH8000,
correct,
and also the SK3000,
correct. So we have a number of different products in our range, specific to the airport industry and runways. The SH8000 is our flagship model. 40,000 PSI, 2,750 bar, It's a large, powerful machine, can go out there and do multiples of hours of work without having to stop, simultaneous vacuum recovery. It's got the double blasting heads outside. So you can go as far as 72 inches, approximately 2 meters of blasting width if you had to. And it's used by more ACI top 100 airports than all other systems combined. So when I say that, you take our top 7 competitors in the world, put all the systems that they have sold worldwide, and we actually sell more and are used by more ACI, top 100 airports. The system's very powerful and versatile, but it's a large system. Okay, and sometimes when you look at the conditions in some airports, just the availability of tertiary support for them. There's other systems perhaps that make more sense. Maybe from a financial standpoint, maybe from an adaptability standpoint. And so the SK3000 is a skid-mounted system that is totally independent of the chassis. So everything is self-contained on a skid, and you can mount it to any locally sourced chassis that has the minimum specifications. And so that makes it a lot more attractive for smaller markets. Maybe an airport that wants to utilize this thing in 3 or 4 different locations. And so there's a lot of SK3000s out there. I've got 32 of them in Indonesia right now.
Have you?
Working at various airports. It's a very popular system in Australia, New Zealand, Thailand, India. So, it's it's a very durable system. It's a little bit mechanically, perhaps less complicated than the SH8000. So it makes service and support by the end user a lot easier too.
Okay. And you've done a lot of traveling, I understand, this year.
Oh, yeah.
A few countries, huh?
Yeah. So between this year and last year, 54 countries, just about 1 million miles. I've got sales teams and agents all around the world. I like to support my people directly. Bottom line, I always tell them, if you need some help working with a customer or explaining something or doing a presentation, you just give me a call. I'll get on a plane, I'll come out there, and I'll take care of it with you. And it gives me an opportunity to go out there, train my my guys and gals that are out in the field. Kind of make sure that they're well equipped. So, one of the secrets to leading a team, whether it was in my time in the military, my time in other careers before this, you want to make sure that you got the right people and they're equipped with the right tools and they're given the right training. But most importantly, you've got to have that supervision. And by supervising, I'm not talking micromanaging. Supervising is leading by example. The best way for me to train somebody on how to, give a presentation is go give a presentation. Have them mirror me. And then I help them. I watch them do the next presentation. And then, work with them on, this is what you did. This is what went well. This is what, we need to work on a little bit. And you work on making a person better at their skill sets by emphasizing those positive qualities and those positive characteristics and things that they're doing right.
Yeah. Now, that's great, John. Now, and we'll come to the training a little bit later. Now, one of the things that we're trying to do with this series of podcasts is getting to know the people behind the position.
Sure.
And the reason being is any youngsters or anybody thinking of coming into the industry, it's nice to know the types of people that you might be working for or that your immediate supervisor or manager. Now, most of the industry, people fell into it. Okay, I don't know many people who sat in a school and said to their teacher, I can't wait to get into cargo, or I can't wait to get into ground or runway cleaning. It just doesn't happen. So now, how did you get into this particular business line?
Well, okay, it's a little bit of a pun, and we'll probably talk about it in a few minutes, but I sort of dived right into it from a completely different position. I was working for Berkshire Hathaway. I was in the insurance business prior to coming on board here. And my mentor, my good friend and mentor, was former vice president of this company. And he had approached me and said, hey, look, I would love to do something different with my international sales team. I would love to have somebody with a different perspective. And the actual job description was, I want somebody who can stir the pot. So that's definitely me.
Okay. I would say, yeah.
So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll be happy to take a chance at a different industry and, kind of learn as I go. And that's essentially what I did. I mean, they had their way of doing things, in the sales market. But one of the things that has been, I guess, my strength in the last 6 years is learning from people in the industry. So when I talk with an airside operations director, or I talk with landside director, and I talk with the maintenance people at airports around the world, and learn about their concerns and what they're doing. We go out and walk the runway at 2 a.m. I go out there and do the rubber removal at 2 a.m. I talk to their contractors and their service people and get my hands dirty and put my boots on. And a lot of what we do in this industry cannot be learned by textbooks. So you maybe answered an ad, or somebody said, hey, why don't you go interview down here? Or, your cousin said, hey, you know what? They're looking for an extra person down here in baggage handling, or whatever it is that got you into the aviation side of the house. Okay?
Yeah.
You can take all the classes you want, but none of it means anything until you actually apply it.
Yep.
Put your hands on it and get out there and do it. Just like me, I'm a certified stripe hog operator. I operate our machinery. Okay. I might be the sales guy, but, I'm perfectly willing, able, and love to jump into the cab of that truck and get out there and blast.
I can imagine. Now, you also said that you dived straight in.
Yep.
So we know you've got a little bit of history of diving.
Yep.
You want to let's go into that, because.
So I grew up in a military family. One of the things is the military families in America, you travel a lot. So my father found himself in Hawaii. I was young man, 11 years old, 12 years old, got certified as a scuba diver because, as one does in Hawaii. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And, over the years, I've done a lot of diving. So, I've got multiples of thousands of dives. I've done military diving, commercial diving, technical diving, recreational scuba diving. But one of my great loves has always been free diving. Free diving is diving without any equipment other than a single breath, maybe some fins and a mask on your face. Okay. So the free diving has been a big part. So I'm part of USA Free Diving. I've been a competitive free diver and competed in national and world competitions. Certainly not a champion. I'll never be the best, but I might win as oldest or fattest or something like that. But
a win's a win.
Yeah, but a win's a win. I'll take it. But I love the sport because of the sport, because of the free diving. One thing, I can hold my breath over 7 minutes. I dive, 150, 200 feet, deep, one breath, come back up, So, I mean, those are things that I really enjoy doing. I enjoy the sense of freedom and peace and being in the ocean.
7 minutes without breathing. I got to say, before I heard you talk, I thought that was it. But then when I heard you talk, I thought, no, he can definitely do 7 minutes without breathing.
Yeah, my wife said the same thing.
No, but that's brilliant.
Yeah.
You must surely, when you're pushing yourself, to get that right, to go down and get back up within that 7 minutes, that must be incredible.
And this probably applies to anything in life. Your mind could fool the body into doing anything that you want it to do if you believe. So you got to work on your self-belief. I think the secret, every successful person I've ever met is insanely confident that whatever they're about to do, they're going to succeed at.
Yeah.
And whether I can hold my breath 8 minutes or not is going to be completely dependent on whether I believe I can hold my breath 8 minutes or not. Yeah, I'll train and I'll do all the things necessary to get to that point. But you got to believe it. You can't doubt. When you're watching that second hand ticking down, 750, 51, 52, and you're looking at that, you've got to believe I've got the 8 seconds in me. I've got this.
And what sort of training do you do to max it out?
To hold your breath a long time, the training you do is hold your breath a lot. And there's a lot of different things you can do. We have what are called CO2 tables and O2 tables, so carbon dioxide tables and oxygen tables that build up tolerance to low oxygen levels or high CO2 levels. When CO2 is what triggers, the buildup of CO2 in the body is what triggers the urge to breathe. And you practice. But bottom line, what you're practicing is tolerances, and you're practicing the ability to push past the autonomic reflex, where your body wants to do a reflex to breathe. And you have to be able to physically restrain yourself from reacting to that. you could probably, and people have, David Blaine and you know, magicians like that, people have done trick kind of things where they've hypersaturated with oxygen, pure oxygen, flooded their system, removed all the CO2 from their system, and they can hold their breath 15, 16, 20 minutes or whatever. But that's not a true, you know, for a purist, I mean, free diving is all about ambient air, the air you're breathing and I'm breathing right now. Yeah. Taking one big breath and going and doing whatever amazing thing you're going to do. You're to go as deep as you can, or as far as you can, or as long as you can. Right? Those are the three things that you do in competitive free diving. You go very deep, you go very far, or you hold it as long as you can. So, you know, all the events basically are some form of those three activities right there. And you know, this is something that, you know, more and more people are doing. It's, you know, it's an incredibly safe sport compared to other quote unquote extreme sports. Anybody can do it. It takes very minimal gear. You don't have to spend a lot of money like you do with scuba diving. You know, it's something any of us could do with a. Don't even, in fact, for static apnea, where you just hold your breath face down in the water, you really don't even need a mask. You know, it's not like you're putting your head very far underwater. You know, so you could do it with just a nose clip, perhaps. Or not even that. You can pinch your nose if you had to, you know. Yeah. But you can do static apneas tonight. Everybody that's listening to this podcast, everybody that's watching this, you can do this laying down in your bed, put some nice music on, grab a stopwatch, take a few deep breaths to cleanse yourself, get centered, take a really deep breath, hold it, and just hold it as long as you can.
There's some people I know who watch this, and now I've got a visual of them doing exactly that.
You'll be amazed. I tell everybody, I can take anybody to 3 minutes. Just give me 20 minutes with you, and I can get you to 3 minutes holding your breath really simply. I think everybody can innately do it. We have the natural capacity to hold our breath 2.5, 3 minutes. It doesn't take a lot. It's just a little bit of mental, you know, it's mental trickery. You got to convince yourself that you can do it.
Oh, God, right. We'll be doing that later on then, Tyler, mate. Holding our breath. Okay, brilliant. Now, how do you, apart from diving,
Yep.
Now, you said about training and mentoring. Now, I'm a big believer that people that I like to listen to are people who've made mistakes.
Yep.
Learn from them and come back even stronger.
Sure.
So now, during your time, and obviously you haven't made that many mistakes with the diving, otherwise we wouldn't be doing this podcast. But what sort of mistakes have you made as a young man? And was there anybody out there who gave you a chance, gave you some extra information, guidance, advice that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, okay, so absolutely. I've made some really stupid decisions in my life. Look, I'm an Army brat. Okay, so I grew up a little bit rebellious. You know, my dad's a retired Army officer, Corps of Engineers. So on top of being an Army officer, he was also an engineer. You know, pretty analytical guys, you know. You know, whether it was riding me about my math homework. You know, I don't know how many kids have had their dad look at them doing calculus and said, oh, that's easy. How come you don't understand that? But, one, I'm half Asian. Okay, so there's a little expectation that you're really good at math. And two, I had an engineer for a dad. Yeah, so, you know, the pressure was always on with school. I was a little bit rebellious. You know, growing up, you know, I may have smoked a wacky tobacco or grown my hair out a little long, listened to heavy metal music, you know, acted out, you know. I think we've all done some wild and stupid things, you know. But, no, I really stepped in it. You know, my freshman year in college, I made a bad decision, hung out with some wrong people, and made a stupid decision. I was lucky enough that, you know, His Honor gave me an opportunity to make right by that, and I did. I took the opportunity. Anyways, I was given a choice. I was given a path to go down if I wanted to get on the right side of things, and I decided that was my wake-up call. I needed to stop acting like a child, act like a grown man, and took that path. Soon afterwards, I was married. I was finishing college. I was in the Army Reserves. I got hired as a sheriff's deputy, so I was a law enforcement officer full-time, student full-time, parent or husband at the time full-time, working part-time in the U.S. Army Reserves. You know, ended up, you know, going active duty after some deployments. Went active duty for Desert Storm with the Army, and you know, I'm retired Army myself. You know, obviously I've made, you know, I think every soldier makes mistakes. I started out as a private. I retired as a first sergeant. When I retired, I was the first sergeant of a recruiting company in the United States Army. But I've worked in the infantry, air defense artillery, military police, criminal investigations, and of course recruiting. You know, did a lot of counterterrorism work.
How old are you?
52 years old.
You can't be 52 with all of that. You must be about 182.
Yes, I know.
All those different things.
Always kept myself busy. You know, I've been I'm blessed and fortunate to be married to a wonderful woman. We have 2 sons, 29 years old and 30 years old. One of my sons, he's working in retail right now, and my other son is a working comedian, very successful comedian. I'm proud of both of them. They're great young men. My wife's an educator as well. She's a teacher for about 15 years, and she's.
But you love the you seem to love the coaching and mentoring and training side of things.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Look, at the end of the day, here's the thing: we're all given a gift by somebody. Somebody took the time, and time is the most precious, commodity we have. Yep. Somebody gave us the time to impart something that got us to where we are. Yep. Okay, I've had a lot of great coaches and mentors, over the years. Some of them are famous, and some of them nobody knows their name but me, right? Yep. But they passed on some wisdom. We have an obligation. We absolutely have a duty, to perform. We need to give that back. We need to give it to the next generation. We need to pass it down.
100%.
And there's no reason to keep. My God, it's not a secret. There's no guru on top of a mountain that you have to. Why should kids have to climb to the top of the mountain to get a pearl of wisdom from some guru? Let's just give it to them.
Yep. I used to tell my kids, PhD.
Yeah.
Want to cover that?
Yeah, piled higher and deeper.
That's it. I used to tell my kids they were PhDs. It was please help Dad.
Yeah, please help Dad. So, my background is in education. Well, no, it's not. My background is in journalism. I started out with a bachelor's degree in journalism. So I have a bachelor's in journalism and business administration. I have a bachelor's in business administration and a master's in business administration. Okay, so I have an MBA. All right. But I always wanted to be a teacher. Really, really, really. Oh, and okay, here's why. So in junior high school, 7th grade, Dr. Oscar Miner was my science teacher. And I was the new kid. So I was always the new kid. I was an Army brat. So I was moving all the time. All the time. I was always the new kid. So I show up in this class, and I'm kind of the new kid. And it wasn't right at the beginning of the semester, so I had to catch up with the rest of them.
Yeah.
And he ignited a real passion for marine biology, which ties in with the diving in the ocean and everything. But he really ignited a passion in me for the sciences. And he made me feel very appreciated. And my academic career really became more important. Before it was just survival. I'm the new kid in school. I just want to get by. I'll be happy with C's. Probably because of Dr. Miner, I became really interested in the process of academia and the processes and rewards from being an active learner instead of just a passive participant. Okay, so taught me some good habits. Really got me fired up. Worked as a role model. But in my thought process as, hey, I'd like to be a teacher. Maybe I could be like Dr. Miner. Somewhere in there, it resonated with me that I need a PhD. I need to be a doctor as well. Yeah. Okay. In order to have credibility, in order to have relevancy in what I'm doing, I need to be at a certain academic level. So I got a couple master's degrees, and I decided, go ahead and work on being a doctor of education. I've worked as a teacher. Obviously worked as a trainer and educator, coach, curriculum writer. I have a master's in education and curriculum development and a master's in instructional design. So I've got a lot of degrees, got a lot of college, background, all of which was done in night classes, weekends, whenever working full time. But, eventually Nova Southeastern University gave me an opportunity to study in the Fisher School of Education and get a PhD in education. So now I'm working. I wanted to be a doctor of marine biology, but I'm not going to lie. My organic chemistry is horrible.
So that's it.
Yeah. So more on education.
Too deep.
Yeah, about high too deep. Educational leadership.
Yeah. Let me ask you something now. With all of that training and your love of education, when you see a group of youngsters,
right?
Okay, what stands out for some of them? And then if you follow their careers or you follow their path, does it come to fruition? How easy is it to see something in somebody at an early age?
Well, okay, so if a spark fires, you can see it. Okay, so if there's a flame of desire and passion in somebody, it usually becomes obvious. And here's what I find a lot of parents, a lot of educators, a lot of adults do. Okay, a child, a young person, teenager gets really fired up and passionate about something, and we poop all over it. We get that fire hose out so fast, make your head spin. Oh, my gosh, let's douse that. It's kind of like Footloose. Oh, no, those kids are dancing in that barn. Yeah. We can't have that. Let's not have some joy and love and excitement about what they're doing. And we got to stop that. That is a real, I don't know where we transition from being footloose and fancy free and able to see the little joys in life to becoming those curmudgeon-y old adults. But somewhere in there, a switch is flipped. And we become those things we said we would not do when we were children. I don't want to be like my dad. And then one day I looked in the mirror. And
there's my dad.
There's my dad. Bloody hell, what happened, right?
Yeah.
So when you see that fire and that desire in somebody, if you want to see the results of that fire and desire, you got to nurture it. You got to add fuel to it. You've got to give them the opportunity to grow. And part of the opportunity to grow is giving somebody the opportunity to make mistakes. So when you hire somebody as a new hire, as a young person, as an intern in your company, there's nothing more, and I'm saying this to every leader out there in the business world. There's no such thing as a zero defect environment. And if that's what you're encouraging, your company will fail. Yeah. You will fail. You're failing your people, and you suck as a leader. I'm just going to tell you that right now, all right? I've led young men and women to success from everything from the battlefield to the boardroom, and I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't let your people make honest mistakes and learn from them, you're not much of a leader. That's our job as leaders, and leaders are really, our job is to be teachers, okay? We need to give our people an environment where they can go out there, spread their wings, take chances, and not get slapped upside the head just because they made a stupid mistake. Hey, everybody screws up. Now, here's the secret.
Fail fast and learn.
Yeah. Fail fast, learn. Move on. Move past it. In the Army, we call it after-action review. So every time you do something of any importance, afterwards, everybody sits down. Everybody that survived sits down. And you look at, okay, what was supposed to happen? What actually happened? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What do we got to do better next time? Right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, it's the same thing. I don't care whether it's a military operation or, your quarterly, board meeting or your monthly training meeting or your weekly team meeting. And if you're not having a weekly team meeting, you're also wrong and you're failing your people. You better be touching base with your people weekly. All right? Yeah. Because here's the thing. Followers need to feel led, okay? And that doesn't mean you have to be a bully and be a some sort of dictator or martinet, but you can't have the title of leader if you're not actually leading anybody, okay? I.e. teaching them, encouraging them, mentoring them, coaching them, building them up, and giving them opportunities to be winners. Bottom line.
Yeah.
So when you do that after-action review and you sit down and everything, those should be teaching and learning moments. They're not supposed to be beat-up sessions. And that's really the biggest problem I have. With the quote-unquote corporate mentality, Chris, is just, let's not be cookie-cutter, automatons. Let's not have people bouncing up out of their little, what are those called? Prairie dog villages, gopher hole, this cubicle environment.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, so we've covered the sparks.
Yep.
Now, one of the things that I love is I love to see people who don't think that they've got an opportunity or don't think they can do better. And if you can actually give them a chance and show them what they can do, sometimes they go further than the sparkers.
Look, the job description might have read, we need a paint and body guy.
Yeah.
Whatever, okay? Entry level, that's fine. You're going to learn, how to do this, okay? So you got an apprentice coming on board. He's going to learn how to do this paint and body thing. And you get him out there, and about 3 or 4 months goes by, and, all of a sudden you realize, this guy just doesn't get it.
Yeah.
All right? He's blended the color wrong. He didn't prime the body correctly, something, all right? He wastes all his time over there hanging out with the welders, on his lunch break welding. All right. That's an obvious example, but look, the paint and body might not have been his aptitude, but he's over there doing a beautiful root pass, on the welding. Why aren't we going out there and saying, hey, well, maybe we just got you misassigned.
So realigning people and making sure you've got the right people in the right positions. Right. And I think also because people are under pressure too much, they keep putting people in the wrong positions and convinced that they'll eventually do it well.
Right. When you when you pound a square peg into a round hole, is it the peg's fault?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Let me ask you something else now. If I was lucky enough to meet Michelle and have a chat to her and say, right, what would you like to change in your man? What would she say, do you think?
Don't be such a judgmental ass. Yeah, okay. So, and she's right. Okay, my wife says something. She says something to me all the time. She says, John, you cannot police the world. And she's right. Okay, I can't change everybody. I shouldn't expect everybody to do things my way. You know, the whole Army, NCO thing, my way or the highway, son. Right? I can't do that all the time. I just need to focus on me.
Yep.
Take care of me. And if I take care of me, everything else will take care of itself. And she would say, I just need to lighten up a little bit. I need to relax. And I've gotten, leaps and bounds. I close that down. Always be closing. I close my sales. All right. And I was very fortunate to convince this beautiful woman to take a chance with me.
Yeah, that was your biggest sale.
That was my biggest sale, huh? I closed that one. But,
and I bet you didn't have to wait for 7 minutes holding your breath for her to answer.
Oh, no. It was months of build up, and then, she was pretty quick with her answer. But, you got to continually, it's everything hey, Chris, all relationships, you got to continue to close that sale in relationships. Yeah. Relationships aren't a static sale. The rollback, like in the car business, car goes over the curb. You don't ever want to see it again, all right, unless they're coming to trade it in on a new one. Yeah. Right? But in relationships, boy, that car could roll back the next day. You've got to be on top of your game. You got to have your A game all the time. And one of the ways you do that is you got to be real self-reflective, and you really need to be willing. And look, this is from the, from the warehouse floor to the boardroom. You got to really take a look and do from the floor up to the heads up examination of, am I doing everything the way I should be? Just like am I proud of who I am? I used to work for a guy named Warren Buffett, and Warren Buffett used to have this. Well, he still has. I'm sorry, but he has this little saying that before you do anything, think about whether or not you would want a objective reporter to publish what you're about to do in your hometown newspaper, where your friends, family, and kids and peers could see that. And if the answer is no, then basically you don't do it, right? Well, you need to be. I think it behooves all of us to kind of check ourselves every day.
That's a great bit of advice. Unfortunately, most people don't take it the first time.
No, they don't.
And everybody's got something in the cupboard. Yep. Now, as far as we've covered what Michelle would like you to change, what would she say is your go-to music, the record that would get you up dancing no matter where you were, how you felt, the one that would always put a smile on your face and in your heart? What would it be? And don't tell me it's a Disney song for you. Surely be good.
This is for you, Michelle. Jolene by Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton.
Yep.
Yeah. I like that's a good one. That is.
She hates it.
Does she? Jolene. That's about "Don't Break My Man's Heart" or something.
Jolene. Now, that song is for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an earwig. As soon as I say the word Jolene, she's for the rest of the day she's furious with me.
Yeah.
So I use it a lot. Yeah. That's my go-to.
I can imagine. Now, what I try and do is come up with a title of a book. Mm-hmm. Do you read much? Fiction?
I read a lot.
What sort of books do you read?
Everything from science fiction. I grew up in the Dungeons and Dragon era, so I love my sword and sorcery and fantasy type books. I love my J.R.R. Tolkien, and stuff like that. I like horror, Stephen King, Dean Koontz, things of that nature. I read a lot. Obviously, I read a lot of business books, mentorship books. I'm a James Maxwell certified coach. So anything that James Maxwell writes. Grant Cardone is one of my personal heroes. I love Grant Cardone. He's one of those sales gurus that really resonates with me personality-wise. We got a lot of similarities. So Sell or Be Sold great title. Napoleon Hill, obviously. Lita Boys, Zig Ziglar. So if I'm going to read books, I like to read things that are going to improve me. Les Brown, one of the greatest sales gurus in the world. Les Brown, if you got to knock on 100 doors to get a yes, then you got to knock on 100 doors. You do what you got to do. Every day, stay hungry, like he likes to say, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, I'll read anything that's going to give me insight, and then sometimes I read things just to purely escape. I love the Lee Child, Jack Reacher books.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
Have you seen the last film? Yeah,
I was really surprised. Tom Cruise would not have been my first choice to be that character. As a former military police officer in the United States Army, I was sort of offended they didn't call me immediately. I can't possibly understand why they didn't. But he did a credible job. And in my biopic, they're going to get Keanu Reeves to play me, I'm sure.
Keanu Reeves, yeah. What's the character he plays now?
John Wick.
That's it, John Wick.
Love the John Wick movies. Love them.
The last one was a bit over the top.
No, it was absolutely wonderful. It had Halle Berry in it. Come on,
the horse and all that.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a Western writ large. I mean, come on, all movies fall into 2 or 3 genres, and John Wick movies are really, they're just.
He's in good nick, isn't he, for his age?
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. I mean, he's my age basically.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
No,
insane.
he's done well.
Yeah.
Right, Achilles Heel. What's your Achilles Heel? Or one that you don't mind telling everyone.
Yeah, I don't want any of those guys that I owe money to knowing all of them.
Say,
my Achilles heel. Well, look, I'm a sucker for a good sob story. I'm not going to lie. And sometimes I don't do my due diligence. I have on occasion been burned. I try to help people out. I should have been a little more critical, a little bit. A little bit more suspicious of their motivations and stuff. I've tried to help people out a few times. Gotten burned. I've trusted people.
Disappointing when that happens.
Disappointing. Yeah, disappointing. But I end up beating myself up. I said, damn it, I should have known better. If I had only, I should have listened to my wife a lot of times.
Yeah, you think back to something that you actually thought yourself.
Yeah.
But you gave the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly. Man, I had that opportunity to say no, but I just I just didn't walk away. But at the end of the day, if my epitaph reads he was an easy mark, I'd rather that than be a selfish bastard or something. Yeah.
No, understood. Now coming back to water blasting.
Yep.
And what's new? What's new for the company now for 2020, new decade?
So in 2019, we finished expanding into our new world headquarters in Stuart, Florida. So 150,000 square feet facility.
And that's where you're based.
Yeah. Well, I live in. I'm worldwide, so I'm based wherever my cell phone and laptop is. I'm based out of series after series of hotel rooms. That's that's how it is. Life of sales. Okay, so for you young people that are thinking about getting into sales, let me tell you right now. Okay, be prepared to travel a lot, and pick a hotel brand, become a loyalty member, and stick with it. And eventually, all those things add up. Okay, in a very positive way. I would say the same thing about airlines too. Pick an airline that gets you to where you want to go. Fly with them, save those points up, and eventually those add up.
What's that film? What's that film with? What's his name? The fella who's in Ocean's 11 and.
George Clooney?
George Clooney, yeah. The one where he's travelling all the time. He wants to be get to 1,000,000 miles.
What was I can't remember, but I do know the one you're talking about.
That's a great film.
Yeah.
Great film.
Well, I'm a million miler, so that's a strange feeling when they actually greet you at the gate and say, "Thank you for being a million miler." You're like, that's a lot of hours sitting butt and seat.
That's a lot. That's
a lot of hours, yeah. So Hog Technologies, we've done a big expansion. We've hired a lot more people. We offer a lot of different products besides our ultra-high pressure water blasting systems.
Yep.
We do Thermo Hog, which is a thermal plastic extruding system. The Paint Hog, obviously for painting lines and markings. The Rumble Hog, which is a grinding, grooving, and milling machine for making rumble strips and doing inlaid grooves so that you can lay thermo in. I got the Surface Hog, which is a low-pressure surface cleaner. A lot of airports are using that. Denver International is an example of that. They use that for cleaning the existing markings in the ramp, apron, and taxiway areas, parking garages, any paved surfaces. Disney World, it has evaluated and tested our system. We'll be acquiring them. We got a operator of a number of parking garages and parking lots out on the west coast of the United States. Who's I think he's bought his 4th or 5th machine now. The Surface Hog. Because it's very, very effective. It's a low-pressure option with heated water. It cleans gum from concrete. Now, let me tell you, the number one thing facility managers will tell you from airports to wherever, gum is the worst invention ever. It gets on concrete, especially Singapore banned chewing gum because of this.
Yeah.
Okay? An entire country said there's no chewing gum. And the reason is because once it melts and it gets on the concrete, you can't remove it. It's almost impossible to remove it. It ruins the concrete. It's sticky mess, and it gets tracked all over the place. So our Surface Hog actually effectively removes gum. We've got a lot of, like I said, a lot of different inventions. We've introduced the 5.2, the Stripe Hog 5.2, which is a smaller system. It's our smallest ultra-high pressure water blaster. It's a completely skid-mounted system. It's a low-cost, entry-level, really, really productive a system that can be used almost anywhere. It's a very low profile, so you can put it on a trailer. You can put it in the back of a dually pickup truck. Yeah. A lot of so you can work parking garages, very confined areas, small tight municipality streets, alleyways, small 2-lane roads and things like that where you can't get our bigger systems. So it's a phenomenal, fantastic system for small market airports. This is a great thing. You can use it from the apron to the hangars. Wherever you need to use it.
One of the things there was a show. I can't remember which show it was, but there was a picture of an aircraft on a stand. Yeah, and then it had everything around it that went on. Yeah, and people sitting on an aircraft. Yeah. This is one of the things that, at schools and universities, to tell people what is associated with that aircraft. There's so many jobs, industries, equipment. Everybody fits in all over the place. It's one of the most intricate and complex series of events that happen every time an aircraft comes in and goes out. So I think that's a fascinating story. Now, I would never, when I looked at all of your equipment, and you look at it and you think, my God, it makes sense what they're doing, but you wouldn't realise if people didn't tell you how many things go on around an aircraft's movement.
So I've got a really good friend, Rob Harvey. You may have met him. Anyways, he was in he's still in, but he was in the baggage handling industry when I first met him. And he kind of walked me through that one day. We talked about it. Anyways, why is this important? So airport infrastructure, a huge chunk of their actual physical infrastructure is devoted to handling the baggage. So not only do you have the baggage carts and the tractors that pull them and all sorts of different sizes of these and palletizing equipment and loading equipment and things that raise them up to get them into the bed of the into the storage compartment of the plane. We're talking about massive loads of not just your luggage but mail and cargo that gets shipped on every single flight. Okay, and then you got all these conveyor belts and systems behind the scenes. We never think about it. You get off the plane, you go down to baggage claims, and you're waiting for your bag to shoot out. And you're thinking to yourself, I've been standing here 10 minutes. I can't believe it. Why is it taking them so long? But I want you to think about this. The next time you're sitting there and cussing all these guys that are working their rear ends off, probably out there in the heat or the rain or some kind of horrible weather, okay, to get your bag from that plane, all right, and get it into your hands in 10 or 15 minutes in most cases, okay? Just how big a journey that took and how many people actually had to be involved and how many pieces of equipment, okay? So that's a huge operation that has to be unloaded from the plane. It has to be scanned in. It has to be put on a trolley. It has to be brought into the building. It has to be scanned again. There's security checks that, need to be done to make sure it's going to the right place, to the right. Think about it. You got 20 conveyor belts out there. It's got to be put on the right conveyor belt. All of these operations, okay, that happen, and it's seamless. 99% of the time, it's seamless. From the time that tag was first put on it, when you got on the plane, wherever it was, to the time you get home, the aviation industry is seamless. And 20 to 25 people probably had something to do with that bag alone and that operation. So when we talk about why are there a lot of jobs in the aviation industry, why would we say that there's a lot of jobs? Just imagine that one process, how many different people are involved. Okay, it's not just one bag, but it's thousands every single day. It's like that throughout the airport. Every operation happens from the refueling trucks that have to go out there, and fuel the planes, to the air bridge operators. The people that, the Stripe Hog water blasting system operators at night at 2 a.m. who are out there working on the runway to make sure that when your plane lands, there are thousands and thousands of people.
Keeping the runways open.
Keeping the runways open, changing the light bulbs, mowing the grass, to, the people that have to scare the birds away, the systems that they have to install to make sure you don't have bird strike on your aircraft. There are so many different things that are involved, and so many different ways that you can be involved in this industry. And here's the interesting thing. Unlike almost any other industry in the world, every single person in the aviation section, is concerned about one thing. Paramount, our number one concern is saving lives. Safety.
Yeah. And the word, doesn't matter what you do in any of those jobs, if you know why, and you know why it fits in with everything else, it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
And you said earlier about time, the most valuable asset any of us have got. And what I don't understand is why so many people are not happy with what they're doing with their time.
Yeah.
And you have to give yourself a purpose.
Absolutely.
You only give yourself a purpose if you know why. Yep. For yourself and for the business that you're in.
Look, we've all talked about purpose-driven life. Yeah, any number of mentors will talk about it. Obviously, living the purpose-driven life. It's not religion, guys. It's not a matter of faith. When we say purpose, just like Chris said, you've got to know who you are.
Yep.
But more importantly, you've got to know why you are.
Yep.
We all have a reason, okay? And you want to live the best life you can, and really do those things that support your reason for being here, your why.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. No, it's so important. So important. So if anybody out there wants to know why of the hog world, Hog Technologies, they can find out on www.thehog.com.
That's correct.
I like that, The Hog. I think that's really, really, really
when you're the world leader, you get to have that kind of website.
That's good, don't it?
Yeah.
The Hog.
The Hog.
I'll take it you got some fancy T-shirts.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, The Hog. Right, listen, we're coming to the end of the time now. All right, really appreciate you coming on board.
Thank you.
You're a larger-than-life character. As far as a book title, just off the top of my head, I've got to bring Jolene into it. So it's Jolene, I dive after 5, hold my breath for 7 minutes, but still come up alive.
Very good. Very good.
So that's the title. And if I seen that on a bookshelf, I would most definitely get it and have a good browse through.
I approve that.
But
I approve that message.
Any man, I think, who can hold his breath for 7 minutes, I think that's incredible.
That's one of the least of my. I'll be honest, and thank you for saying that, and I appreciate it. And I get a lot of pleasure and enjoyment out of being able to do some of the things that I do. But you know what? I've been a pretty good dad and a pretty good husband, and those are the medals that I'm most proud of.
That's it. What's the saying? Somebody told me that for your children up until the age of 18 to 23, 24. All they want is for their dad to be proud of them.
Yeah.
And from 23 or 24, all their dads want is for them to be proud of them.
That's absolutely correct.
And
I believe that.
You know what I'm saying? Children are the most valuable of things. And that's why when you're given the chance to be a leader or to promote, you've got to realise that's somebody else's children.
Yep.
And if you can help them become better, I think it's a wonderful gift.
I used to tell all my sales, I still do. When I tell my sales guys and gals, look, if you're talking on the phone to somebody, I want you to remember one thing. Okay? That's somebody's mom or daddy or son or daughter. So you talk to those people the exact same way you want your wife, son, daughter, mom, or dad to be talked to.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah.
Take care of them. They'll take care of you.
Every now and again, though, there's an alien that hasn't got a mum or a dad, and you have to just give it to them.
Every now and again, you know what? That disconnect button works pretty good.
Yeah, every now and again.
every now and again.
And listen, while we're talking, the film was Up in the Air.
Yeah, up in the air. Yep.
Up in the Air, great film. And that's also that film has also got a lot of really good messages as well.
George Clooney has the best-looking teeth in Hollywood.
It's probably cost him the most
as
well.
It's probably cost him. It's $50,000 worth of dental work. But I got to tell you what. I tell my dentist all the time, the day my chompers start to go, give me the Clooney's.
The Clooney's, yeah. Yours are looking all right as well.
Thank you, but I want the Clooney's, definitely.
Yeah. Well, John, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks. Thank you so much. And, wishing the Hog Technologies lots of success for the new year and the new decade. And thank you very much for calling in to see us. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Likewise. Thank you very
so
much.
much.